The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to the motion to recommit because I strongly support American manufacturing, and that's what our bill is about getting Americans back to work. You know, our friends on the other side of the aisle want to talk about protecting seniors. The biggest threat we hear about seniors right now is the president's health care law that cut hundreds of billions of dollars out of the Medicare program. Why don't you work with us to repeal that law and replace it with reforms that actually strengthen Medicare and help seniors? That would be a really good place to start. Now let's talk about jobs, Mr. Speaker, because that's the focus of this bill. And this is a bipartisan piece of legislation. What we're trying to do is actually support some of the things the president himself has talked about. The president said that he wants to cut red tape. You know what this bill does, Mr. Speaker? It cuts red tape. The president says he wants to be the most transparent president ever. We'd actually like to help him fulfill that promise. In our bill, we actually require transparency from the EPA to actually start proving what they're saying that they want to do with actual science. If you look at what's been holding back our economy, so many states will tell you when they're trying to issue permits, it's agencies like the EPA that are holding back their ability to create jobs and issue permits that quality standards. Ironically, the motion to recommit that they're bringing forward would actually make it harder to implement higher air quality standards. We've had testimony in committee, Mr. Speaker, from companies that have told us that they are right now delayed by years in some cases in the permitting process to build newer, better plants to create thousands of jobs in America because the EPA out with rules and guidelines, and yet they won't even show states or industry groups how they can achieve this in the real world. You know, there's this parallel universe, Mr. Speaker. You've got the EPA coming out time and time again with rules and regulations that cannot be implemented in the real world, and then you've got people that are trying to create jobs in America saying the biggest thing holding us back from creating good American jobs is these crazy radical rules coming out by the EPA and other agencies like it. So, Mr. Speaker, we've got a choice to make here in this chamber and across this country. The president says he wants to create jobs, and yet he comes out with rules with his agencies like the EPA that are the biggest impediment to us creating jobs in America. The president says he wants to be transparent, and yet he refuses to be transparent in a bill like our bill here today says he has to be transparent. Show us how you're expediting the permitting process. He talks about that. It's time to walk the walk. He says he actually wants to remove that red tape. Well, you know what, Mr. Speaker? In our bill, we hold the president to his promise by removing that red tape. So we ask ourselves today, do we want to get our economy moving again? I say yes. Do we want to cut the red tape the president promises but doesn't deliver? I say yes, let's cut that red tape. Do we want to get our economy moving again? I say let's create those jobs, get our economy moving again, and get these radical agencies that are slowing down job growth in our country out of the way. Let's vote down this motion to recommit, pass the underlying bipartisan bill, and get the economy moving again. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Without objection.